So it's not often that a turf sprinter is the most exciting horse in America, but I think that's the case right now, and he proved it again on Saturday. Cogburn, who followed up his North American record-setting performance in the Saratoga Stakes earlier this year, the Jaipur, with another blowout win in the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint on Saturday, blasted out of there. Never looked like a loser. Stopped the clock in 107.68, 0.27 off the track record at Kentucky Downs. He's the best sprinter in the world, the best turf sprinter in the world, maybe the best horse in the world, pound for pound. The criticism of him going into this point was that he'd only faced the American horses. He hasn't faced the best of the Euros and whoever, maybe the Japanese horses. Maybe that's still true, but he took a real shot from a back-to-back Diamond Jubilee winner in Kadem. Kadem got off a little bit slowly, but he was never catching Cogburn. He's just an absolute pleasure to watch. And yeah, John, I can't remember the last time there was a turf sprinter who was this exciting, but he is appointment viewing.
Well, the thing that was so interesting to me about Cogburn is, it wasn't whether or not he was going to win the race, because obviously he was the odds-on favorite for the race. But there was, 6 furlongs, question mark, undulating turf course, question mark, a lot of speed in the race, even if it wasn't necessarily his kind of speed. And the horse hadn't run in 3 months and ran a 107 and a 111 buyer going into the race. And basically, there's a lot of reasons why you could say, well, he probably won't win this race, for all these reasons, other than the fact that, there's 11 other sprinters in here that could get in his way. And all Cogburn did was say, proverbially, hold my beer. He went out there and went gate to wire, which again isn't necessarily his forte. That's not necessarily the best way that he races. He used to, usually sit off it and make a run. And you figure going 3/4, he was definitely going to sit off it. But that's not the way the track bias was. That's not the way that Irad wanted to ride him, who incidentally is undefeated, on him this year. And basically knocked off whatever rust that he had in the pre-race and went rocketing from the gate and won the race. Joe, he could have won the race by 10 if he really wanted to, but he throttled down, left some in the tank, and I would have to believe that the horse is going to go right from this $2 million race right to California. There's no reason to run him in between. He's got enough points winning the Jaipur. He's got enough points, where he's obviously, the best turf sprinter, I think, in the world. And we've talked about that before. But it's going to be, must viewing come Breeders' Cup Day, come that first Saturday in November, as to whether or not Cogburn can continue his streak. That now it's 3 in a row. Could it be 4 in a row and remain still undefeated for 2024? And then, watch as he goes off into the sunset and becomes a stallion. But to me, there's not a faster horse in the world right now. And again, kudos to Not This Time for producing, we talked about it before, but the fastest turf sprinter in the country, maybe the world. And he's got the fastest, distance marathon horse in the world in next. So, again, Not This Time, just burning it up on both sides. And that's why he's got so many horses in book 1 of the September sale.
Yeah, no, that's what's so fascinating is that really proves it. The fastest 5 furlong horse and the fastest, 12
furlong?
16 furlong horse in America. That shows his versatility, dirt, turf. He really is such a superstar stallion and just keeps getting better and better. And yeah, I don't think that there's a horse that can beat him, period. But 5 furlongs at Del Mar on that speed favoring turf course, man, unless he breaks slowly,
right,
to me, he's probably the cinch of the weekend. I know we got a lot of time. We still got 2 months, a little bit less than 2 months left till the Breeders' Cup. But man, he is an absolute superstar and great to watch. I wanted to kind of branch out and broaden this conversation a little bit to the Kentucky Downs meet as a whole. And I don't know about you, John, but there's just something a little off about these races giving out so much money. I think about a horse like Jackson Traveler, West Point stalwart. It's been running forever. He's a stakes winner at 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and he's still at $930,000 in earnings. And you go and win one of these, I'm sorry, but shitty 2-year-old stakes at Kentucky Downs, $600K in the kitty. Some of these older horse stakes that you really don't even have to run more than a 90, 95 buyer for, $1.2 million in the bank. And I don't know. I guess it's a good betting product, although the first half of that meet, the turf course was insanely speed favoring. Yeah. Unbettable. how speed framing that course was, because it was one of those things where there's a lot of speed on paper and you got to like close your eyes and guess which one's going to go to the front, because that's the horse that's going to win the race. So I stopped betting. It got a little bit fairer over the weekend, and I think that's an angle going forward. Any horse that made like a big closing kick and didn't win in this meet, I think is worth betting next time out at a decent price. But I don't know, it just seems so artificial to me, John. Like this money that they're giving out, like it's not proportionate with the level of competition that they have at that track. And maybe you say like that's how you build stronger competition, is give out that big money. But I don't know. It's so out of proportion from the rest of the stakes calendar and the rest of the purse money handed out in these big races in America. It doesn't, unless you have a horse like Cogburn who is crazy exciting, it just doesn't get the purse. It doesn't get the pulse going for me. And I think it's going to inflate a lot of bankrolls for a lot of like meh horses.
Yeah, I guess the thing that it makes me scratch my head about that comment, Joe, is that obviously when you have these horses and they really only have a shelf life of a certain period of time, they have an expiration date on them. So the opportunity to maximize how much they can earn on a softer turf course, I think, is a positive thing. I understand your argument about, hey, it's really disproportionate when you have a weekend where they're giving away $12 to $15 million of stakes purse money, not to mention the undercard races. And, the Kentucky Derby is what, $6 million? And the Preakness five. Yeah, I think they were going to raise it to 6. And the Preakness, and you have all these major races. I mean, hell, you have 80 something % of the Breeders' Cup races that are at $1 million or $2 million, and they wouldn't even make the undercard on some of these weekends at Kentucky Downs. So I understand that it's disproportionate in that sense, but I think it's a great opportunity for owners and trainers and jockeys to boost how much you make for this small meet. Because I know, when we go down to the championship meet at Gulfstream, for example, the purses aren't good at all compared to Turfway or Oaklawn or, some of the other winter racing, yet the competition's off the charts. So you have to make hay when you can. And I think if you have a horse that's good enough to win at Kentucky Downs, you have to take advantage of it. I mean, so much so that in the mint millions, the winner, Goliad, actually has won not once, but twice at Kentucky Downs this year. So he won twice in a 7-day window. And basically is going to show that he made over $1 million just in that 1 week. So yeah, is he $1 million horse? Where you think of, hey, all these horses that made $1 million, would he come to mind? No. Should he come to mind? Probably not. In comparison, he's not going to be one of the top 10 horses, that you think of when you think of talent, but he certainly is going to be there in terms of purse earnings. So I understand what you're saying. It's disproportionate, but I can make arguments that there are racetracks that are disproportionate in the other way, in the other direction. And this is just a chance for people to kind of catch up and clean up their bankrolls.
Yeah, I listen. I'm being a hater, but it seems like it just seems like being a 7-figure earner for a horse used to be a really prestigious thing. It's kind of the way I feel about the graded stakes schedule.
Right.
Like it used to really matter that you were a grade 1 winner or a graded stakes winner. Like that was prestigious. That was a select club, especially the grade 1s. And now you look at these 4 or 5 horse grade 1 fields, and it's just like it has lost its luster to me. And I kind of feel that way about Kentucky Downs, where it's like used to be a real accomplishment for a horse to become a 7-figure earner. And now you go win one race with like an 89 buyer at Kentucky Downs, and you don't have to do anything else in your career, and you're a millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess again, when you're paying the bills and everything like that, you like to have the opportunity to cash out on something like that. Joe, you mentioned we didn't talk about this in our pre-show roster, but you bring up the point about you win a 5-horse field or a 4-horse field and you get to be a grade 1 or grade 2 winner. How about the idea that Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks point system now is going to get truncated, reduced if there's not 5 starters in the race? I think that's a really cool idea. And it wasn't like they had a trial balloon and they tossed it out there for people to banty it about. But I mean, I don't remember too many Oaks and Derby preps where this would affect the points, but It's going to, and it definitely has added to the intrigue and the strategy that you place. It used to be where you'd want to run your horse in the easiest race possible for the most amount of points, and now you have to be conscious of the fact that if it dips below 5 horses that start, then you are going to get a fractional amount of the overall points. And with the point totals being so important over the past couple of years, especially when certain horses were ineligible, that was a big deal. Now those horses I'm talking about Baffert. Now those horses that Baffert trains are going to be eligible. You need every single point that you can get in order to be in the top 20. So I think it's a really cool idea that they went ahead and did that and made these races more valuable.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and I honestly think that should be the future. Mm-hmm. Like, I would love like a dynamic grading system for these races, because first of all, the American Grade Stakes Committee can't be trusted to handle these races the correct way. Like, we've just seen it over and over again. We saw it last year when they didn't downgrade a single race in Kentucky. It's just like, come on, like it's plainly ridiculous. Yep. So I honestly think that would be a great way to make sure that the races are as prestigious as their namesake or as their history is. Listen, if this race has fallen out of favor, like, I think about a race like the Shuvi at Saratoga. Used to be a pretty prestigious race, was a grade 2, has a 4 and 5 horse field every single year now. Coaching Club American Oaks, 4 and 5 horse field every single year now. And it just doesn't make sense to me to be littering the catalog pages of all these horses with grade 1 and grade stakes black type, when if you click on the freaking race, the horse ran against 3 tomato cans. Like, I just think that there's, I don't know. It's a more general problem, because we simply don't have enough horses to fill a lot of races in America. So that's kind of the root of it. But I don't know. As a fan, as a bettor, I'm just kind of tired of looking at these races where either there's way too much purse money for the talent that's in the race, or there's way too high of a grade for the talent that's in the race. It takes something away from it for me.
Right. And it goes back to the original argument that we had, which is, even though the fall crop every year has reduced, they have not reduced the number of stake races, or at least proportionately so. So there's still horses that in previous years would not be black type earners, would not be perpetuating their gene pool going forward, because they wouldn't be commercial enough, for the marketplace. But that's never going to change as long as the breeders have a hand in what's going on, because they want as many of their progeny to earn black type as possible, because black type is what sells.
Yeah, no, there's besides the people shouting at the clouds like me, there's no incentive for anybody to downgrade these races, really. But the other thing too, and I kind of want to lead into our next topic as we come out of the break, is it's like the purses are artificially inflated at Kentucky Downs. And again, I'm not blaming anybody at Kentucky Downs. Like, they're doing what they should do. They're taking all that HAHR money and reinvesting it in the purse money. The owners aren't doing anything they shouldn't do. They should ship their horses. If anything, they should ship more horses there to increase the quality of the fields. I'm just saying, as a fan, it's a little bit lame to me. But I'm not saying Kentucky Downs is in this boat, but Parx, who's having some real issues with the turf course that we're going to talk about, I think this trend of tracks, and really it's not even a trend, it's kind of the norm mostly in America now, that the gaming revenue props up the track. I think it leads to a lot of bad outcomes and a lot of bad racing. Again, not putting Kentucky Downs in that boat, but it feels a little slimy, like all these tracks that are taking this alternative gaming source revenue and kind of letting the product go to shit. Again, not Kentucky Downs, don't get mad at me, but it's part of that group of tracks that depend a lot on other revenue. And we'll talk about it after this.